Hello, and welcome to the latest episode of Through the Pages. Today I have a book that has been on my list for about a year now, Pew by Lacey. So this is a book I really didn't know a lot about. There was a day where I was just kind of looking through like best of lists, and I think this one had come up twice or something, and plus I like the cover art, and I looked into it just enough because much like with these videos, I don't like spoilers. So it I grew up Catholic, and so knowing, not that my like dad and mom were like super religious, it was more like their parents were, and then if they didn't, it'd be a big ordeal. So like it was more that generation. I think there's a lot of that in this era. But so when I recognized that it was basically like something happening within a religious community and them not knowing how to handle it, I thought it was a homeless person just in general, and I was like, that's a monkey wrench into their, I mean, they gotta treat them right, and like. But it was so much more than that. And this is not a spoiler. I think most people, if they go to pick up Pew knowing what it is, they probably know more than I did. And like, so it's a trans person that basically has nowhere to go, goes into a church and sleeps on this pew, wakes up, and there's people there and say, we just kind of want to know what's going on here. We're not kicking out, we're a church, we want to do the right thing. But like, so it was a very, the pros for the simultaneous story of like a southern religious community having this kind of predicament, and like the sort of vagueness of it, coupled with the not coming outright and saying like in a trans person that it was just like this person who was very ambiguous, and then all of a sudden you realize like, oh, that this is a trans person where probably the first every person in that church has met, probably a talk they wanted to have with their kids before, and like it was definitely a big like gear shift, and some people super apprehensive, some people like saying nice things but would pack in some snide ones, like there was conversation with the priest where all of a sudden it was like, okay, this is an ally, and then it was like, oh, he's saying the things to do a good thing, but then hampering in some religious stuff and some it towed that line so well, without having to be like ham-fisted about like these religious people didn't know what to do. Like it shows their awkward balance of like wanting to care, but also like I'm uncomfortable, and like having to like weigh both of those simultaneously as this unexpected situation arises, which ultimately is a very simple one, or should have been, had the town not be going through other things, and won't get into all that because like I said, the spoilers. But I listened to an interview on YouTube with Lacey and someone, a British man. I don't know what the publication was, but UK Books or something along those lines. It was just a very mundane thing, but she was fascinating. Like I really enjoyed listening to her. I want to read more from her, and she was also super cute. But she had these like circle tattoos here. But it was cool to see, like, she was talking about how much she'd wanted to write about the South but didn't know in what way to do it, where I think we all have that sort of origin story or hometown story, and like if we're not many degrees removed, it can simply be a retelling of what we know. Whereas if we develop more worldview, we see kind of that place's juxtaposition in society and can write about it in a way that is more intriguing to a broader audience, I would say. And so I think anyone can understand like the religious group meeting someone who's not religious, like the sort of oddity there, but then like, the particulars of it, how small the town was, like that this little festival that they were about to have was like such a big thing in the community, and like there was so much to it that I just loved. Also, just like the dialogue was phenomenal. So like anytime they were talking with kids, I think that is very emblematic of where she was at, where like you reach that age of like 12, 13, where you're like, I'm a kid, I recognize that, but like I also see what's happening here, like, and so there's that sort of like adolescent wisdom in there, especially from like an adopted kid in it, and like it's very sharp, I will say, like, and it doesn't read like intense or like super modern or confrontational on like social themes. Like it's a simple story. It's kind of how it's going these days, and like it was very good. I kept wanting to get back to it to read more. I don't know much more about her, honestly, that I feel like she will probably be. I mean, she's definitely a professional writer from like what the story or that YouTube interview. So like, I would expect more from her. I just hope it's like novels. I'm just a novel guy. Like occasional short stories. Like I see some Vonnegut short stories behind me, that area. But yeah, this was a phenomenal novel. I think it's her debut novel. But yeah, or no, it says author of the answers. Got my answer. But yeah, this came out in 2020, so it's always nice to read sort of more current books. I always like that. But now I guess I'm going to dig into the answers. If you have read anything by Catherine Lacey or read Pew and have any other books that you're like, hey, if you like this, like that, drop a comment down low. If you have made it this far, drop a like. Do a little something, show me you're out there. Thank you for tuning in.